right. We are now live from the gallery, which means that if somebody walks in and they want to talk to us, I'm going to have to put you on pause. Or casually watch in the background. Or if this is the playback, do you. So what I wanted to talk about today is I'm so blessed to be connected to people across the world, really, who are attuned to kind of like the same topics as me and are on a similar developmental path. And that's been really grounding, because if you are on that, you know that as you move through certain types of information, it can be a little overwhelming and disorienting, and having somebody kind of like unpacking similar type topics next to you makes it a little bit more manageable somehow. It's like, oh, like this isn't a me thing, it's an energy thing. And I find that consciousness kind of pushes out these updates in bands to groups of people, and this is just my theory. And as it pushes out, we all sort of like process and integrate it. And to me, that basically means it moves through our lives, and the theme is pretty much the same, but the way that it shows up is different. So you might be exploring like a theme on loss or self-image or self-forgiveness or separateness or something, and you know, we're kind of looking at the topic in a way that we want to bring it to love, which to me means bring it to truth, which to me means basically you take any kind of personality or faulty thinking or anything that comes from fear out of the equation, so you can be on the ground about it. To me, ascension is really about being here with as much clarity as possible. And so what I wanted to talk to you today, in case like this but I noticed across my mystical, magical folk, that band of people that I'm talking about, that it's been a bit much the last week or two, particularly like increasing this last week, just like a lot of heaviness, a lot of change, a lot of overwhelm, like emotional overwhelm, a little bit of a, what's there? Okay, I just seen this here. And so if you're going through that right now and kind of like pointing out that it's more of a collective movement, again, it can sometimes make it a little bit easier to work with what's in front of you, because with these waves, I find that like you land somewhere better as long as you allow yourself to move with it. And even then, like you will land on the other side of it. So today was just like a brief energy reading to be like, yo, if things are like hot and heavy on your inside or in your world, like that's okay. It is. And it does seem like, you know, we go through, you can have stuff that you're working on that's on the outside relative to other people. Maybe it's something that they're going through and you're around it or affected by it, or maybe it's something that's just happening on the inside of you, something that you're interpreting about the world around you, and maybe something that you're exploring about yourself. Maybe it's something about the past or the future. And you know, those kind of like upsets, whether it's outside or inside, they're equally valid. And I find that applying the same kind of like methodology you use for acceptance externally also applies internally. So for a while when I was doing like my inner work, it was sort of like I wanted to be in perfect acceptance and surrender of my life, you know, outside. But folks, if I'd allowed myself that same kind of grace on the inside, I felt or thought that I had to have some like master control over my emotions, over my inner experience, over my mind. This morning, for example, I had like a bunch of mental activity, just kind of like all types of like, it's just like weather, you know, like strong wind with picked up some debris and it was just moving. And I sort of had that moment of clarity where I knew that it's not, I don't have to do anything with it. Like, I feel that way because I feel that way. I'm having those thoughts because I'm having those thoughts, like, period. It's not, I don't need to wrestle them. I don't need to be afraid of them. I just need to allow them. And as soon as I was sort of like, oh, okay, great. Like, we're just going to, it's sort of like, you know, making peace or amends with being in a tight airline row. You know, it's like, all right, well, we're just going to sit here together. Is it comfortable? But here we are, and we're going to be here till we land. And just kind of like in that surrender and no longer resisting, it can really help. Just
now a little bit. I didn't see you.
Sorry about that.
Okay. How are you?
Good, how are you? I waved at him through the window. He had oh yeah, it's just some level of like acceptance of the inner discomfort, because again, like as you start to move through or on the path, sometimes it seems like that's a sign that something's wrong, but can just be as simple as like that's just the weather that's there, and if you allow the weather, it can move and do things that are like quite beautiful and helpful. You know, you get a strong wind, strong rain, and like who knows, maybe it takes off some stuff like you don't need to have anymore. So that is all I've got for today. I'm gonna plug, hey guys, welcome, that there's a new series that I started this past week called Yours, and it's about accessing your own spiritual guidance, becoming comfortable with sorting out what information you have on the inside. So right now I'm talking about headspace and thoughts, and that can get tangled with things that I would think of as like true guidance, and true guidance for me and my body is more of a sensation. For you in your world it might be that, or it might be something else, but you can also get like, you know, you can read energy, and it really is quite magical, and just like it's fun and beautiful to have access to sort of like your own compass, your own, I think of it like Jarvis from Iron Man, where it's kind of like this inner voice that's providing images or words or, you know, ideas that help you better understand what's in front of you and what's happening within you. And all of that to me facilitates, you know, a greater sense of peace and safety. And so I also have the other series right now, the Safe Place Experience, and that really is about being at home within yourself. And that could be at the level of acceptance, but it can also just be at the level of like not being afraid. You know, we exist in this field of fear. It's in pretty much everything, in our food, in our media, in our culture. Just, it's very scary. It's a very scary information field. You're always kind of like on the brink of disaster or danger, and being able to connect with yourself and who and what you truly are helps being in that field of information be more comfortable. And so then you're not moved by it. You're not reacting out of fear. You're not making survival type choices. You're making creative, constructive, productive type choices that are a little bit more holistic in nature, and maybe they take into consideration more of like others, or, you know, maybe your, you know, time in a different way. And then I also have a tip jar now on the link in my bio. So if there's been something that's helpful, it's really important to me to continue to offer free content. I've talked about this a bit, but I want to make sure that there's like real solutions, real information available without barrier. And so the stuff that I'm offering on this is, you know, from 10 years of working with people and deep diving within myself and whatever like comes off. So, you know, it's I'm condensing and giving the best that I've got, with the hopes that we really are making a nicer world for everyone. And so if you want to support that effort by tipping or working with me individually, you can. All of that's available at the link in my bio. All right, everybody, thanks for coming out today. Whenevs.